Hey everybody, Larry here at Cameo. Let's talk a little bit about what brokers can do to facilitate the inspection process. And we're going to start with three things. Number one, what's a home inspection? A home inspection is a process where I take my training, my experience, my background, and I look for what I expect to find until I either find it or I am convinced it's not there. Number two, everything happens for a reason. Other than acts of God, everything happens for a reason. The stated art of home inspection is to understand how things fail, where they fail, why they fail, so that you know where to look, why to look, and how to look there. I can't inspect every square foot of the house. That's a gimme. And you don't want to sit there while I'm trying to do that either. So I have to have direction and understanding in the process that I use to inspect the home. Number three is that what I find is probably not nearly as important as how I represent it to the client and how I explain it to them. So having those moments to be able to debrief with the client are just absolutely golden. So that in mind, let's talk about protocol. Protocol is where I take all those three things and I basically distill them into a series of very succinct and very systematic and strategic steps. Because what happens is that every step builds upon the next. Remember, I can't look at every square foot. So when I do this step, it tells me, oh, you better look at this when you get over here. And when I get over here, it tells me, oh, you better look at this when you get over here. It gives me direction to my inspection, and that's absolutely critical. That's why if the broker happens to show up and say, I've got a meeting at 3 o'clock, can you do the inside first? I'm probably going to say no, because that takes me off my protocol. My protocol is my primary risk management tool. If I get off protocol, I will miss things. I know. I've seen me do it, okay? Next, process. Process is how I want to work with my clients. Personally, I want my clients to be looking around the house, doing their thing, measuring rooms, whatever. I want to be free to do my own thing, look around, and not be distracted by them. Then I'll gather up with them at intervals and I'll walk through everything with them. But everybody's different. Understand how your inspector wants to work with their clients. Understand what their protocol is so that you can facilitate that process and help make the whole thing go smoother. Logistics. I carry a lot of tools in my truck. They're worth a lot of money. I want to keep them close. Some inspectors feel that their client should have the primo parking spot. I want it. I'm selfish that way, okay? I don't want my truck down the road where it may be broken into. I don't want to have to carry tools 100 yards back and forth. And when it's raining, I really like to be able to back up under the garage so I can get my coveralls on under the cover of the garage and not get all wet, okay? Again, that's just me, but understand how your inspector wants to do that. Helping. We're not supposed to move stuff. We all know that. We all know it happens. And hopefully with the blessing of the listing agent and or the sellers, we can move stuff if we have to access things. But I really appreciate when we can do it together instead of me being left to do it, which takes up more time and it keeps us all on site longer. So when we encounter those situations, any kind of help that I can get is really, really appreciated. Engagement. Engagement's really, really important. As an inspector, if I did not take the time to appreciate the fact that the realtor is trying to run a business during this inspection period, if I was not cognizant of their need to do their business, I'd really be a fool. So I really need to try to work my schedule and work my job in such a way that takes consideration of that fact. But at the same time, when we're together and we're trying to debrief with the client and discuss inspection findings, I need everybody to be engaged. It's very difficult to try to carry on this process when maybe the broker gets a phone call, they're gone, and then they have to come back. We have to re-explain things. So I'm not pointing blame at anybody, but just the more that you can do to be engaged during those periods when we're debriefing over inspection findings, it really facilitates this whole process. People and pets. Pets are problematic sometimes. They get underfoot, they bark, they do whatever. I can't talk to my clients. I'm trying not to trip over the dog. I can't see what I'm looking at. I try to manage that, but sometimes having the help of the broker is absolutely immeasurable. Even worse with people, because sometimes the sellers stand behind, sometimes there's renters or tenants. I don't want to talk in front of them, and it makes it kind of challenging to go through these periods of debriefing. Sometimes we may have to go someplace and have a cup of coffee, but anything that the broker can do to keep these people kind of off of me so that I can do my job is really greatly appreciated. And I know it's not always a perfect thing, but whatever we can do. And I will tell you, years ago, I had a guy who was a seller. He was standing behind me. I didn't know he was there. He was a builder too, and I didn't realize that. He took particular offense at what I was finding and explaining to my client, and he got in his truck and he rammed mine, and then he took off, all purposeful, and it took my insurance company a little while to get money back from him. So I really don't want to go through that again, okay? Distractions and complications. Again, the realtor has to do their job. They've got things going on. They've got to talk to people, but sometimes loud conversations and other things can be kind of distracting. In the same vein, sometimes the inspection period is being used to have other things done, septic pumping, people measuring for carpets, whatever it may be, and that can kind of impact my ability to do my job. So I would only say that if there's going to be other services that are going to be there during the inspection, maybe talk to the inspector first, because maybe they can finesse things a little bit and be able to work around that a little bit better. Ask. This is kind of important. Things have gotten, shall we say, a lot more complicated and sophisticated in the past 21 years that I've been doing this. And everything it's kind of hard to understand sometimes. So it's very easy when I'm talking to a client for the realtor to be in the background. I can watch them and they're kind of going, well, that's a bunch of and I understand that, but be very careful about going behind me and talking to the client and saying, well, that's not that big a deal. Oh, don't worry about that, whatever it may be. That's a really slippery slope. If there's a question about what the inspector is calling out, if it sounds like they're just being too picky or whatever it may be, find an appropriate spot and time where you can talk to them and ask, why are you calling this out? I don't understand. It seems kind of picky. It seems kind of trivial. It's important that you do that for two reasons. Number one is that it gives me the chance to talk to you and say, oh, let me explain why I'm doing this. Let me explain why I'm calling this out. On the flip side of the coin, it gives you the opportunity to maybe educate me about how I can do things a little bit differently or say things a little bit differently. This is a two-way street. It's a communication that needs to happen, because in the end, my job, your job is really kind of easy. All we really have to do is the very best that we know how to take care of our clients, right? But in order to do that, we need to communicate and understand each other a little bit better. Enough said about that. Witness. Sometimes I need you to be my witness. Maybe I'm going into the closet to get in the attic and there's a bunch of cash lying on the shelf. Maybe I'm going upstairs to inspect things and there's kids playing up there. Whatever it may be, it's a very litigious society. You know that, I know that. We need to be a witness for each other. We need to take care of each other. We need to watch each other's collective backs, as it were. Planning. Finally, last but not least, home inspection is going to take 2.5 to 3 hours. That's a standard in the industry. Trust me, in 21 years of doing this, I have tried everything physically possible to change that and shorten it, and as of yet, I have not been successful. Any inspector can follow behind another inspector. They're going to see little things the other guy didn't see. But when you have an inspector that goes through a place and does a whiz-bang, whoop-de-doo, 1 hour, 1.5 hour inspection, when it should have been 2.5 or 3, they're going to miss things that nobody should miss ever. Keep that in the back of your mind, okay? Because it reflects badly on everybody. 2.5 to 3 hours. So plan on that when you're setting your calendar aside for the home inspection. Anyway, that's what I have for you. If I can answer any questions, you know how to get a hold of me, cameohomeinspection@comcast.net. You can call 360-459-1632, and I hope that helps you a bunch. Thank you so much.